Today on Co-op for Two, a quick spoiler-free review of the Suzaku detective series. What is this strange little mystery game? Stay tuned to find out. So, the Suzaku detective series, I picked this up on Amazon for about $20. It seems to have disappeared at this point. It's one of those little foreign games that show up occasionally that look like maybe they're machine translated. It's a little hard to tell. The company website doesn't really exist, but it is an odd little thing. Now, it is totally internet free. It's just the physical components. We're going to take a look at those in a second. Essentially a solo game, mostly a matter of just reading a story and then trying to figure out what happened and then turning to the solution and reading it. There's 3 cases in this box. Once you play through them or read through them, you're done. You'll never play it again, but nothing gets destroyed. You could pass it along to someone else. It's rated at ages 14 and up, but really, well, there is a little bit of adult stuff, I guess, in it. Maybe 14 up is a reasonable age. I think maybe you could expect 4 hours of play through this game. We played all 3 cases live on YouTube, about 3 hours each with lots of discussion. All right, I said this was going to be spoiler free, but I do want to show you the components so you get an idea of what you're in for. So each of the cases, there's 3 of them, has their own booklet. 1, 2, 3. Quite thin. And then you've got a solution booklet. Everything is named oddly, as if the translation machine got messed with. There's a card that represents you. We think this is probably a Chinese originated mystery game. You've got the rules in this thing called the overall process. It's basically just the rules which tell you to play them in this order and where the solution is. Now, this is one of the interesting things, this stack of cards. Other than this stack, it's just a matter of reading a story and then trying to answer a question. The first 2 are broken up into 2 parts. It's sort of like a past mystery and then a connected future mystery, which is a clever idea. And then for each of the cases, there are a couple cards. The first case has just this 1 card called Background Knowledge, and it's basically just some totally useless information, background on the context of the case. Now for the other 2 cases, the cards are a little more interesting. I'm just going to scan through them so you can see. They're like occasionally some diagrams that are useful in your case. Okay. Again, these aren't spoilers, really. You would look at these at the beginning of your case. The only spoiler stuff is here in the solution booklet. So 3 cases. They're not really connected. There's the tiniest, slimmest little thread connecting them, but it's really non-existent. So you read the story, you try to figure it out, the solution on your own, and then you look up and read the solution. That's it. There's no scoring. I don't think there's any scoring, is there? There's no scoring. You just read the solution. Now, I've mentioned this is clearly not natively written in English, but I'm not sure this is machine translation issues here. There are just some very weird choices of translations, but on the other hand, nothing jumps out as breaking any case, or it doesn't even feel like a machine translation. I'm not sure what explains it, but it is a little awkward sometimes. All right, so let's talk about the pros. I expected this to be a total train wreck. I expected to be playing a machine translated version of something that not much effort was put into. But actually, that's not what we got. What we got is half good, half exceeded my expectations. The cases laid out have a very classic locked room fair play mystery feel, like a classic case from the 30s, where we've got a whole bunch of facts that we can't quite make sense of, but feels like it's on the tip of your tongue. You can almost figure out what's happening. And the story is framed in an interesting way, like a classic detective short story. There's like a main detective and he has a sidekick, and the talking between the two is sort of interesting. Occasionally there's some interesting storytelling technique here where the detective is like, that's when I realized I had my epiphany and I realized something was wrong. And you'll read that and you'll say, what did he realize that I didn't realize? So it's the reading is interesting. And I think maybe the best part of these cases is these are cases that are good to play with someone else because they did provoke quite a bit of discussion on our part. Sort of when we got to the end of each one, we were like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, how could someone have gotten in the room to kill this person? And so we had lots of interesting discussion about possible solutions. Okay, that's the good part. The bad part is that the first case we had played had a totally ridiculous solution that was just bizarre. I felt like something had gone wrong with the AI that wrote the case, which was weird because the whole setup seemed very tightly contained and then it completely went off the rails. So then we played, then the motivation for playing the second case was, well, let's see if they're all like this. Are they all going to be insane? Are the solutions to all of them going to be insane? But something interesting happened. The second case was quite good. It had this two-part structure where we had almost like a cold case. We had a case and then many years later, like a repeat of this situation. And this was the one that makes use of like a little diagram and the cards and felt much more logical and reasonable and interesting. I mean, not perfect, not the highest quality mystery, but lots to discuss and a reasonable solution. And then the third case is just okay. It's maybe a little weirder than the other two, but a reasonable solution, cartoonish but reasonable, and maybe even like an aha moment in the third case, and maybe even in the second case. In the second and third, we got it right, but I think in the third one, when we finished, I even thought we should have thought of that. Like there was an element of that we maybe underestimated the game and it was kind of clever, but they're all a bit cartoonish. They're all a little bit weird. So my final rating for the Suzaku Detective series is a solid 7. I don't even know where you're going to pick up this game. And I think there's lots of games that are better and more engaging. This is really for readers. It is just like reading a short story. There's no documents, there's no stuff to go through. But if you like reading short story mysteries, especially locked room cases, and you're sort of curious what the language translation thing will be, maybe if you can pick it up cheap, it might be something to try just for the experience of it. this company has got a couple other games on Amazon as well that look like they're for larger player groups, or one that's specific two-player game. If you've played any of the others, if you have some theories behind this company and this series, maybe you know these in their native Chinese, I'd like to hear more about this. And I would play more from this company and more from this series. This detective, he's not totally unsympathetic. He's it's a little bit interesting stuff going on here. All right, let me know. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.